Hey everyone, it's Andrew again, and I'm back at the S2 Strife studio, and with me, got James and Doug. And we're gonna talk a little bit today about just about the map really, and kind of meta style, because actually in Strife, it's a little bit different. Something I've actually noticed while playing in this open beta now is, it's a little bit different looking, at least in terms of like laning and jungling. Can one of you touch on why it's this way and how that makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So in Strife, the meta right now is 2-2-1. You have 2 heroes top lane, 2 heroes mid lane, 1 hero in the bottom lane. And the main reason for that is our earlier map objective, one of our bosses, we call him Baldir, is actually located on the top of the map. So you kind of want enough heroes around to kind of control that objective, stop the enemy from taking it. Part of the reason for that as well is there is no mandatory jungling in Strife. We definitely are aiming to make it viable. The downside of jungling is that if you send one of those 2-2 players to go jungle, you're going to have a 2v1 lane somewhere. So that one player has to be able to survive and thrive 2v1, which it's a battle of skill, right? If it's a skilled enough player and he can get away with it, it's definitely worth it to have a jungler, but it's absolutely not mandatory.
Part of Strife's philosophy is to play the game the way you want to play the game.
Right.
And so because of this, we allow you to pick your hero before the queue. And so when you get into a game, if you don't want to jungle, we don't want to force you to jungle.
So it's just a completely open option. You can either do it,
right, or
you don't need to do it. But I mean, like, so if you want to be put in the situation of a 2v1 lane, let's say you're the 1 against the 2, if you can make it work, it can work out to benefit your team because you'll have a jungler that can roam around. But once again, it's not completely necessary.
Right, exactly.
The other reason for a lack of a mandatory jungler is honestly just the map size. It's small, it's compact, it's action-packed.
Yeah, and one of the really nice things is that you can, when you're jungling, the lane is so close to the jungle that you can quickly dart in and out of the lane to perform ganks and whatnot. So it really creates a very high action atmosphere.
So you mentioned Baldir as one of the objectives on the map that we have the 2 on top. Because we want to control this side of the map if we want to go check this objective. What about other objectives maybe on the other side of the map as well? And what do both of these kind of do, and how did they help influence that gameplay for the team that's going to secure them, and how it might help or benefit them?
So Baldir is available a lot earlier in the game. He's more of a pushover compared to the other boss on the map, which is Syndara. So Baldir is just basically worth a lot of gold. You kill him, it's a nice boost to your GPM.
Syndara is the other map objective, and what she does is when you kill Syndara, your team gets a choice. They can choose top lane, middle lane, or bottom lane, and when they choose those lanes, it'll spawn Krytos, the Great White Ape, in the lane, and he'll run down the lane and disable the enemy towers, forcing an engagement between the 2 teams, and it's a huge call to action. One of the nice things about this is that it can't really be used for turtling, which you see very often in other MOBAs when they kill the primary map boss. And this just creates a much more action-oriented atmosphere for the game.
So you can push these other these objectives with Krytos, and I've seen it in game because I've used it. You can push, you want to just go straight down the middle and push down anything in your way that you want, and you kind of use him kind of like a giant meat shield, really, because he is a giant meat shield, and he can do significant damage to structures, which is very helpful. But I think there's also some counter gameplay too as well, where you can kind of try to split things up. Maybe you had a good push down the middle lane already, and you're already knocking on the front door. Instead of maybe top, and you run the rest of the team bottom. Somebody will probably have to respond to him, or else he'll keep pushing.
Exactly.
Part of the mind games of Krytos is that the other team is warned what lane he's spawning in and where he's coming. So traditionally it's like, okay, he's coming top lane. We get our whole team ready to defend top lane. They get their whole top lane, and we have a big team fight. But yeah, you can absolutely kind of mix it up a little bit. You send maybe 2 heroes with him top lane. You send 3 people to push bottom. Then all of a sudden the other team has to make an on-the-fly decision of how they're going to defend that push.
So he'll help push down through these lanes. Now what happens after you get through your towers and you come down to a generator, because the generators are really the last line of defense before you really crack into their base. Now, what's the advantage to this objective?
So what generators do in Strife is when they're killed, they give the killing team a ton of gold. And what's really fun about this is that team then gets to make a choice on an item, and it feels very rewarding. And it's also, we've noticed, a lot less frustrating for the other team than what super creeps are, for example, in other MOBAs, because you don't feel pinned in your base as much. You still feel like you're able to roam around the map and try to pick off the enemy team. Another unique mechanic about Strife is that we have what we call observatories on the map. And what these do is when an ally hero walks next to it, it captures for your team. And it provides vision of the surrounding areas for about 35 seconds. And one thing we really like about this is that it's more of a spot check mechanic. It's not like traditional warding systems. So players, go and grab it whenever they think they're going to need vision ahead of time. Another nice thing about this feature is that it really eliminates a lot of the sacrificial lamb type support that we see in games where you have a support player that's forced to buy a whole lot of wards and whatnot and have this tedious upkeep and spend all of his gold on his team rather than progressing himself. So in Strife, we actually see our support characters as a result of this mechanic, perform just as well as other characters in the game.
So with these observatories, with them four of them being on the map, 2 per side, kind of keeps everything really tight knit, and it keeps you involved in the action, which is, I know, that's what Strife is really all about. It's kind of nice that you can kind of spend your money as a support on, being able to actually support, not just, worry about all the objective seeing items and like other MOBAs. So you can just roam around the map and pick up those observatory points when you need to, and that kind of helps you out. And that smaller maps really helps facilitate all of that so the gameplay stays fluid. So it's very, very, very unique concept that works rather well. So if you're looking forward to playing Strife, it is available right now in open beta and you can download it. So make sure you do that if you're interested in the game, and we'll just see all of you guys next time.